Stand Neil Now What, Season 4, Episode 24, Chime Travelers with Lisa Hendey. Welcome to Stand Neil Now What, the podcast where faith meets curiosity and tradition meets today. I'm your host, Karen Estep, and each week we gather as a community to explore the beauty, depth, and mystery of the Catholic faith. Whether you're a cradle Catholic, Catholic curious, or just trying to understand why we do what we do in our faith, this space is for you. Together, we'll unpack the rich teachings of the Church, hear from voices walking the journey, and ask the big questions that help us grow, not just as individuals, but as a faithful community. So, if you've ever found yourself thinking, stand, kneel, now what? You're in the right place. Let's dive in, learn together, and grow in faith, one episode at a time. All right, welcome everyone. On today's episode, I have guest and friend Lisa Hendey. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Karen. It's awesome to be with you. I'm so excited to be on your show.
I'm excited that you are on my show too, because I am a Catholic mom contributor, and I've been on the Momcast a couple of times. And Lisa, you are the founder of CatholicMom.com, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We are here to talk about your, it's not a new adventure, but it's a adventure that's taken some of your writing into a new space. Is that a correct way to put that?
Absolutely. It's actually a long adventure. It's been a long journey, but it's a new development in this long adventure with Chime Travelers. And so it's really fun just to be here to share a little bit of that with you and with anybody who's listening.
Yes, and I have already watched a few episodes of Chime Travelers, which is what we're here to talk about, and they're so cute. I have a long list of things I really, really enjoy about it that we will get into after our prayer. All right, so as always, listeners, we're going to start off with a prayer in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Come, Holy Spirit, come be a part of our conversation and let it reach at least one listener who maybe just needs to hear this for their kids. Writing for children is an excitement and a joy, and it's always a fun new adventure, especially for authors, because writing for kids has a lot of responsibility. So please just bless us with the responsibility that you have given us and help us just have an engaging conversation so that the listeners get excited as well. We ask that you be with everybody as they go through their week. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that.
So I do a little bit of writing for children as well, and with Living Faith Kids. And it's an exciting responsibility because you want to bring the joy that the gospel brings to life as well, right?
Yes, and I find just that writing for children, while some folks might think it's easier because it's shorter and more simple, but I actually find that I have to be a more profound custodian of the words because, the shortness and the conciseness of it makes it more challenging for folks to actually kind of distill down our message. I'm going to tell you, kids are tough critics. So if they don't like something or if it doesn't appeal to them, they will let you know. And that's actually been really wonderful for me as a writer to kind of look at my writing through the prism of a child's eyes and to try to simplify things a little bit.
Yeah, it's a great challenge. It's one of my favorite things that I get to do is to write for children. Okay, so tell us a bit about your Chime Travelers series and how you started it. And that's right, listeners, instead of Time Travelers, we said Chime, Chime.
Yeah, it shakes a lot of folks up with that little play on words there. It's called Chime Travelers. I'll say that right out front because this is a book series that I wrote all the way back in 2015 when it started about a brother and sister, Patrick and Katie, who travel in time and learn lessons from different Catholic saints. And in those encounters, they learn these moral lessons that they can use to solve problems in their everyday kid lives. And the reason it's called Chime Travelers is because the time travel in the episodes and the books actually starts off with the ringing of bells in and around their Catholic church. So that all the little time travelers know that when a bell rings, something big is about to happen. So that's an exciting part of the series. And they started off as books, and we can talk about where it went from there.
Yeah. And I will say, so my youngest watched it one this morning even, and Katie was walking up the stairs, and she was told to go ring the bell for lunch, and he gets really excited and he goes, "Oh, you know what that means." So it is
Yes.
definitely reaching kiddos. So you're doing a great job. So yeah, so how did it start off as a book series, and now it's a cartoon series that can be found on the Hallow app, and it's also on Formed, right?
Right. So the book started off, I'll just go way back to 20, like before 2015. I was visiting with one of my nephews. His name is Patrick, and he is one of the namesakes of my daddy, Patrick. Had I been a boy, I would have been named Patrick. Um, so anyway, we were visiting and talking in advance of his first communion, and we were talking about, his patron saint and just what he knew about his patron saint. And he didn't know a lot. And so that morning, instead of, deciding to break out a Lives of the Saints book, what we did is we had this long, sort of almost like a daydream conversation about what would happen if we could travel back in time and meet St. Patrick. And I've always been very devoted to, he's one of my two major patron saints. So I've always had a dear spot for him in my heart. And it was really just a special moment for me that stuck with me. And a few months after that, I was having a conversation with an acquisitions editor at Franciscan Media just about potential book projects. And she was asking me if I had any ideas. And I said, I have this idea that I just can't really get out of my head. I've been thinking about it quite a lot. And we talked about it, and they were willing to take a risk on publishing the first two books at the time. And it turned into a book series of 5 books so far. And that, confidence that they had in this message. There are a lot of books like this in the secular realm for kids. A lot of people think of the Magic Tree House right away,
Yeah.
and Jack and Annie, who I love very dearly. But there really, at that point, wasn't anything in the Catholic realm that combined fiction and teachings of the faith. And so that was a really fun way, in a simple kind of way that would be approachable for early school readers to learn more both about the faith and the saints, and, to be encouraged in their own walk too. So that's
Yeah.
where it all started.
Yeah, and so then it became this wonderful cartoon series that they've taken your books and made, these super cute episodes that are really engaging. And the thing that I love about the episodes is, one, the kids go to a Catholic school. And I know that seems very weird, but sometimes it's always like the kids in series go to a public school or they're homeschooled. And so right away, I think when my kids were watching it, they picked, oh, they go to a Catholic school like I do. And so that was really fun for them to see themselves and the characters as well. The other thing I really, really enjoy is that the kids, Katie and Patrick, face real life problems. We just watched the one about being greedy and how Katie overcomes that. And, it's not always necessarily the biggest and flashiest thing that you need, but simple can be just as good. And bullying was another great theme that was talked about. And I even learned about, I'm going to say her name incorrectly, Saint Kateri Tikawatha. Is it
Tequila.
Tikawitha?
Tequila. Yes,
Yes.
you're super close. Cinco Terry, Tequila.
And I didn't know about her family until I watched the episode. And I was like, why? I'm learning about the saints too. And as a convert, like, I love that stuff.
Aha, my secret is
Yeah.
unfolding. We think we're watching it for our kids, but we're
Yeah.
actually watching it for ourselves. I want to say, first of all, a huge shout out to Family Theater Productions. Family Theater Productions it's a sister entity to CatholicMom.com,
Mhm.
founded by Venerable Patrick Payton, who is the founder also of Holy Cross Family Ministries, where CatholicMom.com now lives. And Family Theater Productions is out here in California doing all kinds of amazing work on behalf of families, just creating wonderful high quality programming. And they partnered with Herald Entertainment. If anybody watching has ever heard of Brother Francis, that's a great series that Herald Entertainment is well known for. And so this is just like a dream team. And I'm so fortunate that they invited me to stay on board as a story consultant in the
Yeah.
process and to be part of the conversation. Because, you know, when books are acquired for development in film or animation, that's not necessarily always the case. In fact, it's usually not the case. And so to be able to be on board and be a part of the process has been such an exciting and great education for me. But you're talking a little bit about, you know, the themes of the books. And one of our major goals is to make this accessible for kids, but also not like an earworm too much for parents. Because I know from watching TV with my own kids and grandchildren that if they like something, they're going to watch it over and over again. And so we want it to be something that's really fun for the whole family. And the videos are short, they're only 23 minutes, but we pack a whole lot of teaching into
Yeah.
them and a lot of fun too.
Yeah. Well, and the other really fun thing I love about the episodes and just the whole family that you created, Katie and Patrick's father is a convert. And I
Mm-hmm.
love that. And they also have a little girl that they've adopted. And so it's such a fun way to incorporate families in a Catholic way, because I feel like we're in a society that kind of pushes these odd family dynamics, but you have done it in such a beautiful way that just feels more organic and feels like it's very faith based, which I love, because I know there's a lot of parents like I am where I nervous about what I let my kids watch, and I'm nervous about what I let my kids read. And so when I can get these really good nuggets of beautiful faith-based things that the kids are going to see in real life, like bullying and family dynamics, and what do I do if I am greedy, and they can learn from this plus learn about a saint, like it's like chef's kiss.
Yeah, and that's hugely due to the screenwriter. So I want to say a great thanks to the folks at Herald Entertainment. But you know, they really did stay true to kind of the heart of the little universe that I created. And so much about Chime Travelers is really based on my own personal experience. So I grew up in a beautiful Catholic family in Southern California. My mom and dad were sort of like the ultimate Catholic parents, but they weren't the kind who, you know, read the catechism out loud to us. And, you know, the faith was just woven so organically into my faith life. And I think that's what Mr. and Mrs. or Dr. and Mrs. Brady want to do with the kids is like, they're really just looking to grow in their own faith too. And the very first episode sort of shows the situation where Francis sort of naughtily takes his not, I'm sorry, not Francis, Patrick, our main character, brings his pet tree frog, Francis, to his little sister's baptism. And it results in a little bit of naughtiness where Francis jumps into the baptismal font and causes a whole kerfuffle. And their parents decide, you know, not only just, you know, there's probably a punishment involved, but more so the family decides we need to get to know our parish family a little bit better and learn a little bit more, all of us, about our faith. So they sign up for the cleaning team, you know, at St. Anne's, their parish. And that you mentioned the convert. My husband, Greg, is a convert to the faith. And
Wow.
it's something that happened during the upbringing of our kids. He came into the church the same year that my son, Adam, made his first communion. And his faith journey and me learning about my own faith through his eyes has just been such a gift to me. So I'm so happy that that sort of is a little part of this lore of the Brady
Yeah.
family. And just so many pieces and elements. Most of the characters are named for people in my life. The St. Anne's Church and School is named after my mom, who's in heaven now. And it's just so fun to see kids becoming so drawn into this little universe that we're creating.
Yeah, it is so fun. Okay, so what is your favorite part about writing children's fiction?
I think my favorite part is that I was brought up in a storytelling home.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of money, for, going to the movies all the time or buying a lot of books, but we had stories all the time. My daddy was a huge storyteller, and he had stories that he told to each of us individually that went on and on for years. So that was sort of instilled in me. And I think I have a pretty huge imagination, and my mind is sparked by things that I encounter out
Yeah.
in the world. It's sort of natural when I see something that I'm really drawn toward to come back and write about it in my journal. And just the fact that I have had this opportunity, which is so precious, truly, to create something that is meaningful to kids, it's just the greatest gift.
Yeah.
I think
What are your
I'm an
grandkids?
inner, like, second or third kid. Third grade.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what do your grandkids think about? Like, do they think grandma's really cool or?
So we're not quite there with them because they're all very young.
Oh,
But I will say that it's just, to share this in our family, to see my own kids who kind of were around at the time that I wrote the stories, they were older. And one of the stories about Chime Travelers is that I actually sat up in their treehouse for the first two books while I was writing. I would take my laptop up there almost every day to do my writing out there. Something about being like out in that treehouse and connecting with they had painted all the walls themselves, and there were their fingerprints all over the place and handprints, and just how incorporated this is into our family. It's really beautiful. I have to laugh about one of my brothers-in-law. You'll see it at some point in this series. He always, every book that I write, he asks, what page am I on in the book? So it's kind of funny because I've had offhand references to family members in my nonfiction as well. But I had to name a character. One of the teachers is named after him. Mr. Burks
oh,
is named after my brother-in-law, Dave. And that's a really fun, thing that I can name my brother Patrick. The family's last name is Brady, which is my little sister's last name. There's a character, Aaron, in the book, who is my sister Aaron. And Father Miguel is named both for my childhood pastor and also for my brother Michael, who was named after him. So,
oh, that's
yeah.
amazing. I love all that. And that has to be fun too, like figuring out how you're going to place all these people into the different parts of your story. How much research did you have to do to figure out which saints would fit with like the moral lesson? Because, like I was saying with Saint Kateri, I didn't know that she was so ostracized, I guess, with her family because she was a Christian. So, do you go in with the saint in mind and then kind of pick the theme that you want the kids to learn, or do you have the theme and then try to figure out which saint would be the best representation?
Yeah, that's sort of a two-part answer. So for the books, I knew for the first two that I wanted to do Francis and Kateri as the saints. And I knew pretty strongly that I wanted those. The books are actually kind of also linked to the sacraments of reconciliation and Eucharist for the books. Franciscan Media, which was the original publisher of the books, then asked me to do Francis and Claire. And to be honest, with those, I really had to look at what are the stories of their lives that relate to kind of common issues that kids face. That's really the focus of the stories is, not just to tell the story of the saint's life, but to encourage our children that with these problems that they have and they're really their day-to-day lives. For example, in the first book, the really big issue is that Patrick's just kind of questioning his faith.
Mm.
He has been brought up in the church, but he has big questions about God and a lot that he doesn't understand. And so that was something that St. Patrick experienced in his own life. And so we did Francis and Claire of Assisi, and the themes really just came in so beautifully. And then the fifth book was The Strangers at the Manger, which is the story of the Holy Family at the Nativity. And it's the first time that Patrick and Katie have one of these adventures or take a mission together.
Mm.
But in the episodes, they stayed really true to the heart of the stories. But then we've got changes. If you read the books, you'll see that in the same way that anytime you read a book and then you see a movie, there are differences because we tell stories differently on screen. And so that's happening. But now we're advancing into the second season, I guess we'll say, the development of new episodes that aren't based on books that I wrote. And in those stories, we're telling the lives of really classic saints, but again, tying into topics that are of relevance to children.
Yeah. Well, and that was my next question. What is next for Katie and Patrick?
Yeah. So on the episode front, I could share that the folks at Herald Entertainment are already in the screenwriting and animatics process for the next 5 episodes. Animatics is what happens after you have the screenplay. I can look at me, I get to learn all about this
Yeah.
stuff. So after you have the screenplay, then they do sort of a very roughly animated mock-up of the story on film, and they lay over the voice track on top of that, so when you're watching those animatics you can see sort of a sense of where the story is going, but it's very, very not filled in.
Yeah.
The story is there, but the animation itself is not filled in. And then the next thing I see is pretty close to the end cut of the project. And to see then, the story that way is so incredible. So we're in that process for the next 5 episodes now. And I can't say exactly when they'll be coming or who's
Yeah.
in them. Um, but I can say that you're really going to love them. And they're great stories. And it's so exciting for me to see them because, these are not with the blueprint of the stories that I wrote. So it's fun to see how the universe is advancing itself. And
Yeah.
that's a really cool thing.
Oh, that's amazing. And how long does like maybe you would know since now you're learning all these really cool names and how the process works. How long does it take from start to finish to make an episode?
Yeah, it seems like it moves really quickly and really slowly at the same time. So, my perspective of it is that it's a few months for each of them, that there's a whole team internationally at Herald Entertainment that is at work on this, and they are so amazingly skilled at their craft. And then we've got all the voice actors literally around the world too. So, that's an interesting thing. And so what I can't say is, oh, okay, we're starting today, so you'll see in 6 months more
Yeah.
episodes up or whatever. I don't know what the timing of that is, but my perspective is that once things get started, they move really quickly. And that's a really exciting thing. But at the same time, when I'm looking over the project from my perspective as a consultant, I'm really reading the scripts very carefully to see, even though the story may have changed, is it at the heart of our children being well served? And that's always
Yeah.
the goal for Family Theater and Herald Entertainment. So it's it's such a great team that's put together.
Yeah, that it's just like I said, it's a beautiful thing for the whole family to watch. And speaking of family and watching them, I would love so my children asked, I let them both ask a question if you're ready. I mean,
These are always the hardest ones.
I know. And I'll start with maybe an easier one is my eldest asked, who is your favorite saint and why? Now she's in that like confirmation ish stage. So she's trying to figure out who she wants to pick for confirmation. So I know that's probably
Okay.
why what guided her
Oh,
question.
never ask somebody who's written books about saints who their favorite saint is, because they'll go on and on and on. I have a few that are with me all the time, and probably the two most primary are Saint Therese of Lisieux, the little flower,
Mm-hmm.
and St. Patrick. I love St. Therese both for her little way and for the fact that she was a writer and is now a doctor of the church. And it's amazing to me that a woman who really never left the confines of her convent when she was cloistered there is the patroness of international missionaries and mission work. And that's something that's really near and dear to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I prayed with her a lot as a child, but as an adult, and particularly as a mother, I find myself talking with St. Therese a lot about the fact that, I have all these great desires to go out and to serve the world and to travel internationally and meet people and share a message of the good news of the gospel. But most of my mission work is confined within my own home. And
Yeah.
so I think that she's a really great person to pray to when I wonder and doubt, like, is what I'm doing enough? She had that in her own life. And, the fact that she desired that and that she, out of obedience, stayed where she was and wrote her life story, which has blessed so many people. It's just such a beautiful person to have in your life. And then I said St. Patrick, I have such a dear devotion to him through my dad, but also the same pastor that I mentioned, Father Michael Collins. came over from Ireland and he seeded the parish that I grew up in. And in my mind, God always, the voice of God always has an Irish accent because of Father Collins. But his love for his patron, St. Patrick, and, you know, St. Patrick also, the story that I wrote in The Secret of the Shamrock is largely based on his confessio. So he too was a writer who wrote his own autobiography. And I think what I appreciate about him is that he had this major, while he was baptized and brought up, within the faith, he had a major moment of conversion in his life. And
Mm-hmm.
he shared openly about the struggles that he has. And I think it's important that people of faith that we're open about those moments as well. And so to me, his courage, his recklessness is awesome, that he's a
Yeah.
writer. And I just have a dear love for Ireland. So
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Um, my daughter will be happy that you chose Saint Therese because that is what she's really in love with, Saint Therese and Saint Joan of Arc. So apparently we're gonna have to go to France someday.
yeah, and you know what? That there's so many amazing pilgrimages that go over and visit those areas. I'm glad she loves Therese too. It's funny. It's like Saint Therese is sort of like a polarizing saint because it
Mhm.
seems like a lot of people really love her, but a lot of people are like, "Oh, she's too sweet and with the roses," and and then some of the priests that I most admire have her as a patroness as well. And I
Mhm.
really love it, particularly when men understand her and have a devotion to her.
Yeah, she's a really good one to follow. And I wanted her as my confirmation saint, but everybody kept saying, she will pick you and you will know that she picked you. And so I was afraid to pick her. So Mary Magdalene is my confirmation saint. And I found out like after it would been had been already done and already done confirmation or whatever, that Saint Therese had a devotion to Mary Magdalene.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And Mary Magdalene is amazing too. So that's a awesome saint to choose.
Yes. Well, I guess I shouldn't share this, but I'm going to. I would love, like, one of my goals is to eventually write a children's book on Mary Magdalene. So because I feel like she is a saint that's not looked over, but not celebrated as she could be.
Yeah, and we don't typically refer to her as much as Saint Mary Magdalene. So I want to read that book.
Yeah.
Get working on it,
Yeah.
Karen.
Okay. So my son's question is, and this is such it, my kids are so beautiful and opposite. So that was my daughter's question. And my son's is, if you could chime travel, where would you go and why? And that is just a typical, like, very Hugo question.
Okay, so I really, 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 really love that he asked that question because when I do school visits, and I guess it's a good chance for me to say on the podcast that I do these in person and virtually by Zoom as well. So if you're a teacher or catechist or homeschool co-op member or whatever, reach out to me and have me come visit your classrooms. But that's what I ask the kids to do at the end of my school visits. I do a Q&A with them and I always have them introduce themselves and say, if I could travel in time and meet a saint, who would I want to meet? And the way that I would answer that question today might be different from 2 weeks from now. But today, I would say that I would want to travel to meet Saint Mary Ann Cope. Have you ever met Saint Mary Ann Cope before
No,
or heard of her?
I have
Have you
not.
ever heard of Saint Damien, often called Saint Damien of Molokai? Do you
Yes,
know
I
his
have heard of
story?
him. I don't know his story,
Okay,
but I know who he is. Maybe.
so Saint Damien is a priest from Europe who answered a call to travel to the islands of Hawaii, which weren't called that at the time, to minister to those with Hansen's disease or what's called leprosy
Mhm.
back then. And he answered that priestly call and made it his life's mission to go there to the island of Molokai, where at that time people from the Hawaiian Islands were, if they were detected to have Hansen's disease, they were pretty much banished
Yeah.
to that place. And so a place for them to live was established, and he lived there. And at a certain point during his time there, the king and queen of the islands sent out a plea through a priest that they knew to religious organizations in the United States, asking for religious sisters to come and to minister as well, to serve in healthcare roles. And there was only one order of sisters who answered yes to that, and it was St. Marianne Cope's sisters. They were Franciscan sisters living up in Syracuse, New York. And they answered the call, and she and several of her sisters went over and first ministered in Honolulu, and then eventually ended up in Molokai working with Father Damien before he passed away. Mother Marianne, she is one of our great American saints.
Mm.
She was born in Germany, but she really lived almost her entire life in the United States. And people just don't know about her.
Yeah.
And her sisters were actually at my elementary school in California. So I have a very strong connection to that religious order. I've been back to visit her shrine in New York and to visit the museum there. And I have it on my heart really to tell her story, because so many people know Father Damien, but don't know her. So
Yeah.
she's who I would want to meet her, because I have a huge love for Hawaii, all things Hawaii. I've never been to Molokai. And I really want to know about this woman who was willing at this point in her life, in her early 40s, to kind of give up everything, take a train across the United States, get on a boat for several weeks, go to a place where she pretty much knew she wouldn't be coming back from that when she went. And just the courage and strength. And the thing that happened during her lifetime is that she never lost a single sister to that disease. She had these great protocols. She was an amazing leader and woman. And I just really like to meet her and have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I
long
can't
answer.
wait. No, I love that. And I can't wait for that episode to come out, or even that book. So I'll write the one on Mary Magdalene, and you can write on
There
Saint
you
Mary
go.
both. I love
And
that.
I would ask Hugo too. And I think it's a fun conversation for anybody to have around their dinner table. If you could travel in time and meet a different saint, who would you want to meet? Because there are
Yeah.
so many of them. And, we have new saints being made all the time. And so that's a really exciting thing, that we can continue to learn the stories of people like Carlo and, soon to be Blessed Fulton Sheen, and,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing men and women and children who teach us so much about our lives.
Yeah. And I'm just so thankful that, they go to a Catholic school where the saints they're constantly learning. And I'm thankful for, episodes like this and people like you that write about the saints, because, growing up, I didn't learn anything. And so I feel myself as an adult, just like consuming this information. And I just think, just what great examples, right? And even if they weren't perfect, which is fine, that teaches our kids so much about how to live their faith life imperfectly, but still striving to be like Jesus. And that's what the saints are for, is just these great examples of people to have in our lives. And I am like you. I don't have a favorite saint all the time. I have a saint squad, is what I like to call them.
Yeah.
Like a saint posse.
Hello,
Well, where?
Allison Jean Chris. That's one of her favorite terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just say, it's interesting, when the books first came out, that we got a little bit of pushback on, well, this isn't like, we don't want to have this, like, he's having questions about his faith or whatever. Some people felt like it was too real. And I think one of my great joys in studying the lives of the saints is not learning about their imperfection, but the fact that their lives and the changes that they made, and just the developments that they go through, it just gives me hope. I am far from being a saint, but I desire, to lead a life as close to Jesus as I can be. And so, to know that there are people who had big problems in their lives, who overcame those, and who've been recognized. And I will never be recognized as a saint in the church, but I want to be a member of the communion of saints.
Yeah.
And so I desire that in my own life, and studying their stories just gives me hope.
Yeah, for sure. And then I learn about some of the saints, and I'm like, okay, well, we're right on par. Like, they made the same mistakes I did.
Yeah.
So I feel better about myself. Before I ask my final question, let my listeners know where they can find more information on Chime Travelers. And you have other books as well. You have one that I was going to bring in for Earth Day to read to my freshman students, and I forgot, but it's so beautiful, about being a good steward of the earth, that you wrote. But yeah, so let us know where we can find you.
Yeah, so you're talking about I Am Earth's Keeper, which was one of my
Yes.
favorite books to write. So, most importantly, please visit chimetravelers.org. That is sort of a hub for the series. And so there you can find our links to streaming platforms at Hallow and at Formed. And so that's a good way if you just remember chimetravelers.org. But also over there, we've got a video game, we've got all kinds of free downloadable resources, printables that you can use in your classrooms or with your family, discussion guides, all kinds of things there. It's just a really fun place. And with the series, we're also developing some ancillary gifts like a wonderful packet of holy cards that's all based on the
Oh,
artwork from this series that has original prayers to the saints and just lots of special things at chimetravelers.org. I'm at lisahendey.com. I'm on Substack and social media. If you want to visit to your classroom, it's lisahendey@gmail.com. And really, just if there's any way that I can support you or pray with you, please reach out.
yeah. And then you can also find the stuff for Catholic Mom on catholicmom.com that you used to write. And that is where I first met you. And so I'm just
And I
grateful.
still write there. I'm still a contributor. So
Yes. And
it's a
I'm
real
just so
gift to be
grateful
there.
that Catholic Mom took a risk on me. All
Oh,
those years ago, 4 years ago, I think I've been writing for them, and I love every minute of it. And I'm thankful for founders like you, and um, just just so grateful that we have this content for our children. I think it's so important that, and it becomes, when we have content like this, it becomes easier to celebrate our faith when it's kind of new to me as well. So if you are a convert like me and you are looking, and once again, I watched several episodes and learned a lot about the saints' lives. So if you're a convert like me and you're looking for ways to bring it into your children's lives, this is a great resource. And I will let my kids know that there's a video game. We may be doing that for most of the time.
personally, I can't beat it. So hopefully they will be able to beat it. I've played it and it's super fun. So,
Very cool. Well, my last question before I let you go is, and it can be related to anything you want. So your personal life or Chime Travelers or your kids or grandkids, whatever you want. What is something that you are looking forward to?
oh my goodness. You know, in on May 31st, I'm not sure when this episode is airing, but it will be my husband Greg and I my 40th wedding anniversary. We
Oh,
met in college
congratulations.
and we were married the year after we met at the Basilica at the University of Notre Dame, which is our alma mater. And we don't have any like big trip planned or anything like that. But every day, my best friend and the best person in my life is my husband, Greg. He's such a cheerleader and so supportive of me and all my craziness. And so to be married for 40 years, it's a really big milestone. And it's something that I never want to take for granted. I'm so grateful for the gift of my marriage. So that is right now, it's like, being married for 39 point whatever
Yeah.
years that I am right now, we're almost there. I can't wait to celebrate that particular day with him. It's going to be a great
Um,
gift.
that is so exciting. Well, congratulations. And that
Thank
truly
you.
is just such a great milestone and just beautiful. And yeah, I am excited for you. And we're friends on Facebook too, and I get to see all of your travels that you do with your husband, and it looks just like so much fun.
Yeah, he's
Even like
just the
your
best.
travels to
I
the beach look
I
fun.
have lately most of our travels are just in our own neck of the woods, but I
Yeah.
have a real crush on my husband. He's just an amazing guy. And I just feel I'm so grateful to have him in my life.
Oh,
I'm
that's
sure your family
amazing.
feels that way about you.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on. And listeners, everything that she mentioned, like where to find her and chimetravelers.org, will be in the show notes. So it's just easy to access. And once again, just thank you for coming on and sharing all of this wonderful gifts that you have. And we're all going to be cheering you on May 31st, too.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for the gift of what you do. It's really important and it's a great blessing.
Well, thank you. All right, listeners, we will talk to you next week.